Looks like life set you up to be here. You're talking about the storytelling. You have to be a storyteller in the nonprofit space. And then when you have good data, you allow people to realize what they're actually buying into,
Yeah.
right? That it really clarifies where their dollars are going. And if you
Hmm.
have that information, yeah, you're winning for sure. And I think you're also winning, man. You have some great business principles, just this business mindset. What what do you when you think about these principles, um, which principles do you live by that make the arc a little stronger?
I think I incorporate a lot of them into together. It's really putting the people first, and it's leaning on my math first, and then going with my heart and emotions second. And I was kind of smart in school. Everyone was looking for the best GPA. I paid for my college education myself because my father passed away when I was young. And I'm like, I'm taking every single accounting class. I don't care if I got, all I know is I want to walk out with a B. And I was a little bit better than a B, but I gained all the knowledge of every one of those little, classes. And then when I came to the ARC, one of the things I had to do is do this report that they have. It's called a consolidated fiscal report. And I had 2 years to do because they were behind. That was back in the day. We're not behind now. And by doing those, it kind of opened the light to me. It was like, oh, that's how this all works. And I've used that lens and that frame for the last 30 years of saying, all right, well, we need, if someone will tell me, something happened and I can, all right, yeah, that's going to impact us on our rates in 3 years from now. And it's just kind of ingrained in me. And I think it's kind of all that, using all your tools that you can to help people be better.
And we talk about looking at numbers. I think you mentioned to me that you've doubled staff salaries since
Yes.
2018.
Yep.
That's a business mission win, man. How did you
Oh,
do
yeah.
it? Is it that? Is looking at the data and just seeing the future?
Some of it was data. Some of it was helping with storytelling by advocating. We went years in New York without increases, and right now the current administration has been helping us, and we've been blessed, and we've been taking all those funds that they give us and put it right back to where it's supposed to go. And it is awesome for me. I wish I could go even more, and we're trying to do even cool things with housing for people that we support, or people that work for us. Yeah, it was kind of a combination of math and tweaking and like looking at like everything that came in and saying, all right, we need to do this. If we get more units here, and really that's how it is. If we can provide units of service, that's how we get paid. We can then spend that money into staff salaries and pay staff a living wage. Um,
What do you think is
and
a ripple effect when you invest in employees who support the vulnerable population?
I think it's rewarding for the employee because they get better living situation. I think it's
Hmm.
equally rewarding from the individuals because people, how can we ask staff to take care of someone if we can't take care of them?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, their job is to take care of someone, to meet their daily needs, help them grow in society, help them build in their lives. And if we can't do that ourselves, then how can we ask them for that every day
Hmm.
and keep coming back every day? And I'm a tireless advocate. People will tell you, I may not always hit the right lane, but I will, anytime I get an opportunity to speak on behalf of the staff, I will. I always use this frame, 100% of our employees are people, and we need to treat them like that.
That's it, man. I
And
think that's what we all have to remember is that we're all people. I was talking to my neighbor and he was talking about his uncle, and he always likes to say, and he's a doctor, so I listen to him, or he's a cop, and I was like, he's a human at the end of the day. Like, it's not that he's a doctor, it's not that he was in law enforcement. He's human, so that's how he thinks. And I think, so many times we think the doctor is so much better and this
right,
person's so much better, and it's like, they're not.
right,
That's just happened to be the career they chose. We all chose our career, but there's electricians that are so much further than a doctor.
mm-hmm,
Why? Because of the mindset, the way that we think, the way that our values.
mm-hmm,
So I love that you mentioned that we are just people.
right.
Even those in the space that you're in, they're just people.
I love
And
that frame you
and
have. That's a great frame to keep because we need
no,
more people like this to just keep pushing that. The janitor is just as important as the CFO or CEO, if not more important some days. Especially during
yeah.
COVID, they might have been more important than
And
what I
you'd be
was.
surprised, man. That person that's being janitor has a whole nother job.
Yeah.
This might be his part time. I spoke to one time. I was in the airline industry, and at nighttime, that's when he would usually come, and I would always just talk to him and
Yep.
just very personal conversation with him,
Yeah.
like over time.
Yeah.
And you just don't see that. And people was
Yeah.
like, "Hey, how did you get this?" And I'm like, "Well, I was just talking to the janitor." It was like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's that easy. Just have conversations with people. Do not look down on them." But this man was like, "Nah, man, this is just my nighttime job. I have a whole daytime job."
Right.
You know,
Or
he just had
sometimes
to
they're
provide for his
retired.
kids.
And even if it is their job, that's what their goal. That's what they're doing. They're
Sometimes
working.
providing for kids, Donald.
Right. Yeah.
I know a man. He was actually one of my managers when I was in the sub shop business, and he's still, general manager. And he says at nighttime, 2 3 times a week, he works at another sub shop, but just as a shift manager, because he takes that money and that's how he travels with his
Yeah.
family.
Yeah. It's
Sometimes
awesome.
people just do what it is
Right.
best for them and their
Right.
family.
Right.
So don't look at them any type of way. If
We
anything,
shouldn't. Right.
look what he's doing.
We shouldn't judge anybody. It's not our job.
And when we think about the kids or adults now or children with disabilities and the autism spectrum, the amazing things that they're doing. I think I mentioned this last
Mm-hmm.
time to you, and I would always remember it was the Lighthouse of Louisiana or something like that. That
Mm-hmm.
they've created a manufacturing company where everyone that works there has a disability,
Yeah.
whether it's blind, whatever they may look like. They
Yep.
figured out how to
Yep.
get these individuals to work just like everybody else,
Yeah.
working on high-powered equipment that me and you are probably scared of
Yeah.
doing,
Right.
and they're
Right.
doing it.
Yep.
So we're just people. We got to figure out how to just maneuver and how to help them
Yeah.
live life at their fullest, right?
Right.
What are some of the special things you can say, Donald, when you think about you've been in this space for 30 years? What story comes to mind that you're like, man, I'm happy that I get to do this because of, and give me a story.
I'll give you a couple here if I can.
Yeah.
So there was a gentleman that I worked in a restaurant as a kid, and when I was 15 years old, I took the wrong bus. And back in those days, there wasn't cell phones. I mean, I don't even, I think the phones was a dime. I had no dime. I had no idea what to do. There was no so I stumbled on this guy John, and he was at the bus stop, and he's like, "Where are you trying to go?" And I told him, east side. He's like, "Ah, my sister has a restaurant up there." He goes, "Get on this bus with me." So me and him got on that bus together, and then from time to time, I worked for that restaurant all through high school. I would run into him, and we would joke. Fast forward like 20 years after, he's living on one of our residential programs. And I meet
Wow.
him, and John comes, and we hang out. We go to a few things um, together. Eat lunch together one day, walk in the parking lot, and then he kept telling me he wanted a job. I want a job. I want a job. And then I come to find out John's like 70 years old, and he wanted to stock shelves in a restaurant or a store, like a Hess or something like
Mhm.
that. And I'm like, well, no one's really going to hire him. Like, you always get that second interview, and then it'd be like, oh, they hired someone else.
Yeah.
So we, at the same time, had a job opening for a coffee cart specialist. And I went, me and the HR person, Alyssa talked, and we're like, well, maybe John could apply. So John applied. He nailed the interview. Like he had them like laughing. And then he joined the business. Our office. He came in 2 days a week. Then he pushed it up to 3 days a week. He changed the whole office because he would bring his kindness. People were buying coffee, and they're like, I don't even drink coffee, but I just want to interact with John. And it went from
Wow.
this guy who was like didn't really want a job or couldn't find a job to like he was like the all star of the place. Like, and if I needed help, we were running a special event. He was there to end of the event, like sometimes 11, 12 o'clock. Me and him would be the last ones cleaning up, and they'd be like, "You go," and he's like 75 years old. So that was a great one. And he would always like would help me by like he sold coffee, and he would know like on Tuesdays, and we'd have a card, and he would know that I wanted a cup, and he'd have it waiting on my desk when I came out of office meetings and stuff. It fixed the way I want it. It was kind of fun.